Good afternoon. Welcome to this Thursday edition of Wiffle Wednesdays. I am your host and your commissioner, Jeff Darling, for Warrenton's finest fantasy football league. Apologies for this video coming late. I, as you can hear, am under the weather. Just been a month full of sickness in my family. Broken arms, hand, foot, mouth, ear infections. We got antibiotics just pouring out of the sink right now. We're just turning on the faucet. Amoxicillin is just on tap. It's been ridiculous, but anyways, we're here, we're fine, I'm alive for the most part, and we're gonna go ahead and go through and do our week 8 recap and our week 9, preview. All right, starting up, we had, let's see if I describe this matchup, you can figure out which teams I'm talking about. This team was on a 3-game win streak. This team was, I had to double check, on a 3-game losing streak. We had a trending up and a trending down. That's right, you guessed it. It was the Dallas Chef Boys going up against Gone Fishin', which halfway through the game turned to Gone on Strike. Matt, I think since I beat you, and you changed your name mid-game, I should get like 2 victories for that. Although, I don't think that's how it's gonna work. But Matt, you put up some good points. This was a weird week in the league. Most teams were scoring in triple digits. You had teams in 108, 115, 120 that were losing, which normally if you score that much, odds are you're playing against someone like Hannah or Matt or Michael and you're able to get a win. But this time everyone's scoring triptych, super high. So 108 just wasn't enough, Matt. You had a pretty good showing, but that guy that you got from Greg, Foreman, only got you 4 points. Maybe that's why they call him Foreman. I don't know. It's just conjecture at this point. But DeAndre Swift, the highly debated trade with Sean from a couple weeks ago. Right now, it looks like you've gotten the better end of that deal. More on the Raiders laters. But Dallas Chef Boys, 132 points. CeeDee Lamb finally doing what I thought he was supposed to be doing the whole year, which is scoring touchdowns. Dak Prescott, it shouldn't take you 8 weeks for CeeDee Lamb to have his first multi-touchdown game. Not only that, that's his second and third touchdown in the year. That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Dak, you're terrible. Anyways, congratulations to me for winning. I would have lost, maybe, if Matt's team was better. But also, I got real fancy. I did overthinking in fantasy, which always happens. I put in a tight end as my flex position, and he was riding like 3 weeks in a row, scoring like 14 points. Everybody else had been averaging like 6 or 7. So I'm like, let me try to double tight end. He scored me 1.5 points. Meanwhile, my bench gets me 19, 11, 21, 12, 19, 13 points. Ridiculous. If I was playing anybody other than Matt, I would have lost. All right, Matt, I'm done ripping on you. Next game, we had ChatGBD going up against Team Touchdown, and Dan was one of the hottest teams in the league. Unfortunately, at 89 points, that tied for the lowest points scored. And 89's not bad, but ChatGBD, those robots are just doing a great job for you, man. Picking your lineup, picking your team. You got Dicker the Kicker, which, I mean, there's some names in sports that are great. Dicker the Kicker's up there. There's a baseball player, his name is Outman. I mean, come on. Even he's not a pitcher, he's a hitter, so I don't think his batting average is all that great. Anyways, not to detract, but man, Brandon, why am I talking about Greg? Because I'm seeing that Dan lost, so I just thought about Greg. Brandon, pretty great team right now. Dak finally had his best game of the year, I'm pretty sure, 29 points. Kittle with 20. Thank goodness you didn't have that when you were playing me in our tight end matchup last week, but way to get back on the horse, solidify your standings in your division. And Dan, you can't win them all. 8-9, not terrible. Moving on, the Wanakee Squirrel Salads taking on the slightly above average team, and the slightly above average team scored slightly above average of his average points per week. 115 for Jason to 102 for Greg, and Greg, condolences on Kirk Cousins. I don't think you've made fun of one person more in their career than Kirk Cousins, and you continue to rely on him. And even with the torn Achilles, he got you 19 points. Unfortunately for you, 102 wasn't enough to cut it. You got Jason with Herbert getting him 24, Waddle getting him 22, and then Jamar Chase with 21. So you're going up against 3 20s, pretty difficult. But Gabe Davis, the person that Matt traded to you, 19.2 points. Matt, just stop doing things. Just stick with who you got. Although, all right, I told myself I wasn't going to rip on you too much. I don't want to kill your morale. and we're focusing on ripping Greg's morale right now. So, Greg, you should start practicing that recorder, my friend. Michael, you might be giving Michael a run for his money. Next up, we had the Flute Master himself, Michael, taking on the Weasel. And Michael, I'm just going to stop texting you midweek because every time I think you've got it, like a really good chance that you're going to win. You were going into the Monday night game. You had, it was a Jacoby Myers, and the Weasel had Josh Jacobs. It was like you had a lead. You just needed to like hold your own. And unfortunately, Myers got you 2.5 points, and Josh Jacobs 15.8. That was a terrible game. And unfortunately for you, the Weasel squeaks it out, 112.16 to 103.48. You could have won a couple missed opportunities on your bench, Michael, but at this point, I think we're just all rooting for you to just do your very best. I don't think we can ask for much more than you, than that of you. So moving along, Field of Dreams taking on Team Queen. Carlos had been running a big win streak, and the Queen, we all know the Queen's her reign this year has just had some challenges. And no, we're not talking about R.I.P. Queen. I think it was Elizabeth. She was queen for 90 years, and I keep forgetting her name. But no, Team Queen from our league was projected to lose this one. And halfway through, I don't know what happened, Gatorade or something, 139 to 111, and Team Queen takes down Field of Dreams. Again, scoring 111 points, Carlos. You really think that might be enough to get you there, but turns out Taylor Swift didn't go to Travis Kelce's game this week, and he only scored 8 points. So if he had showed up, he probably would have won. I did like how Denver was playing Taylor Swift over the loudspeakers after they beat them. And Greg, you were right that the Broncos could in fact beat Kansas City. I think it was the first time in 16 games that they played each other that the Broncos had won. I don't think I'm making that up. I think that was indeed the stat. But congratulations to Russell Wilson finally winning. Although I'm happy to see them lose because honestly he's kind of annoying, and so is Sean Payton, all smug that he's going to turn around the Broncos. No, they're a terrible team. Chiefs, you lost. All right, my voice is really hurting. I really have to project a lot, otherwise this is my normal voice. So we're going to come back down to my announcer voice. The final matchup of the week was Team Midnight Mike going up against Team Uncle Touchdown. And Mike, it was close. If you had started Sam Howell instead of Mahomes, I'd have to do some quick math. If you had started Howell and Njoku instead of Mahomes and your Conklin, who got you 0 points, you would have won. And we all would have loved that. We would love to see Sean go down in a fiery, massive L's. I don't know if it'll be backwards or not, but Sean, you continue to win. We're just jealous about that, but you're doing great. So if you look at the standings for the league right now, after 8 games, you got Uncle Touchdown at 7-1, Dallas Jeff Boys at 5-3, Team Touchdown, Dan, and slightly above average team at 4-4. Jason's holding close to getting back to where his name. Right now you're just average, but I think you're projected to make the playoffs. So you are, I guess, slightly above average, so well done again. Both of you guys at 4-4. Wanakee Squirrel Salads and Gone on Strike at 3-5. Matt's riding a 4-game lose streak. Dallas Jeff Boys a 4-game win streak. Squirrel Salads with a 3-game lose streak. And so we're just seeing some interesting things in the East Division. Moving on down to the West Division, Chat Lee gets back on that winning horse, 6-2. Field of Dreams, 5-3. The Weasel at 4-4. Team Queen at 3-5, as well as Team Midnight 3-5. And then bringing up the rear in the whole league, Flute Master at 1-7. And again, if you just look at points scored and points against, Sean continues to have the lowest amount of points scored against him. But to his credit, he has cough attack. That was what the doctors call a productive cough. All right, Sean, to his credit, has the highest amount of points scored. I still have the most points scored against me, but you got a couple folks that are giving me a run for my money. Team Touchdown has had a ton. Team Queen has had 888 scored against you. So some of these folks, it's just pretty interesting to see it's interesting to see the scores each week, points scored, points against, and know what that actually equates to. Because again, fantasy all comes down to it's random. Nobody knows. Projections are garbage. Average points scored is basically garbage. Statistics is a darn fool. There's just no trend there. It just comes down to who you happen to play each week. Anyways, enough about that. Let's just take a quick look at the matchups for week 9. You've got the Dallas Jeff Boys taking on Team Midnight. Mike, please do not adjust your roster. Right now, I'm supposed to win 115-70. I'd appreciate a nice, stressless week. That would be great. Team Touchdown taking on Gone on Strike. Right now, projected Dan 109.5 to Matt's 92.8. Slightly above average team taking on ChatGP Lee. Jason projected 117.4 to Brandon's 105.9. The Weasel taking on the Squirrel Salads. Greg's projected 105 to Paul's 97.1. Team Queen taking on Flute Master. Right now, Hannah projected 92 and Michael projected 97.6. Can you break the 4-game streak? Michael, maybe. Final matchup, Uncle Touchdown taking on Field of Dreams. Sean projected 105.7, Carlos 108.9. Guys, we are going, we're going into week 9. There's 14 weeks until we get to the playoff, or week 14 is the final week of the regular season. So I think that means we have 6 weeks left of the regular season, counting this upcoming Sunday. So you go on a 6-game winning streak, and Michael, you're at 7-7, which probably won't be enough to win or make the playoffs, but you might not play the flute. So guys, streaks can happen, injuries can happen, anything can happen except Michael win. Anyways, thank you so much for your attention. Have a wonderful week. I'll talk to you next week. For now, this is Jeff saying bye for all of us. Goodbye.